It all starts in the classroom, where the teacher announces that Kyun Lexuan achieved first place by scoring 192 points. Because of this, the students are amazed by the extraordinary grade, starting to worship the girl as a true goddess. It becomes clear to the whole class that, inevitably, she will be the perfect district representative for the college entrance exams. The teacher hands over the test, praising the excellent result, and in return gets a polite thank you. Meanwhile, at the back of the room, a student shows that he has finally woken up from a deep sleep. Yang Lin wakes up with an unbearable headache and is totally confused about what is happening to him. Shortly after, the educator turns to the boy and coldly states that he got a 0, placing him in the worst position in the class. The students start mocking the situation, thinking it's impossible for someone in the honors class to get a 0 on a test and insinuating that he used to cheat before. At this moment, Kyun Lexuan takes a quick look at the boy who is going through this embarrassment. The teacher then warns that, due to his consistently low performance, the administration has decided to transfer Yang Lin to class 19. The young man is shocked to hear the number of his new classroom. Giving no room for excuses, she orders him to pack his things and go straight there, dismissing him from the evening classes. Grabbing the test with disappointment, he knows very well that being sent to that class indicates that the school has completely given up on him. The whole class starts murmuring that class 19 only has problem students, questioning if the punishment wasn't too harsh. However, one student stands up and recalls that the real issue was Yang Lin provoking Lin Xiaoguang, motivating the school to hand down this severe punishment. To protect her husband's job, who works for the mayor, the teacher knows she has no other choice but to throw the student under the bus. Because of this, she quickly changes her tone of voice and announces that Lin Xiaoguang scored 191 points, taking second place. Full of enthusiasm, she asks everyone to applaud to congratulate the class representative. The rich kid stands up, adjusting his suit jacket, showing off a completely arrogant posture to his classmates. He goes to Yang Lin's desk and mocks him, asking if he is crying, since he's biting his lip so hard. Trying to avoid trouble, the boy asks the snob to get out of his face, but ends up having his hair pulled roughly. Lin Xiaoguang ignores the warning and says that, as the representative, he feels it's his duty to give one last piece of advice before the transfer. Getting his face close in an intimidating way, he offends his classmate by calling him trash and throws it in his face that his parents' passing doesn't justify being completely useless. The trust fund kid warns him to stay away from Kyun Lexuan and to accept once and for all that he is a worthless loser. To end the show, he pats Yang Lin on the shoulder, telling him to try his best at rock bottom. Yang Lin keeps his head down, enduring the humiliation in silence for a brief moment. Suddenly, his tolerance runs out and he steps forward with a chair, warning that his rival is asking for trouble. However, the dizziness returns with a vengeance, leaving the boy with no energy left to finish the attack. Taking advantage of the weakness, Lin Xiaoguang blocks the strike using just his arm, without any difficulty. Right after, the rich kid delivers a strong kick that throws Yang Lin away, mocking his total inability to fight. To not look responsible for the fight, Lin Xiaoguang announces out loud to the room that his action was strictly self-defense. Shortly after, he starts repeatedly hitting his classmate, who is on the floor in front of the whole class. Seeing the absurd situation, Kyun Lexuan asks the educator to step in and stop the mess. However, the woman hesitates, aware that the student crossed the line, but the fear of ruining her husband's career paralyzes her. Acting cowardly, she decides to walk very slowly just to give the aggressor time to keep hitting the boy. Thrown on the floor, Yang Lin can barely stay awake, feeling his head turn into such chaos that it might burst from so much pain. The exhaustion is so intense that his vision starts to fade to black. In a deep, dark place, a mysterious voice starts repeatedly calling out the name Chu Tianming. The boy seems to float in this empty space, not understanding where the voice is coming from or who that name belongs to. Until the moment clarity takes over his mind and he finally realizes that Chu Tianming is his true identity. Memories of a past life surface, revealing that he was once a Supreme Cultivator who defied the heavens. However, right when he was about to reach immortality, he suffered a heavy ambush set up by several enemies. Having his body destroyed, he had to use a secret technique to save his soul before reincarnating into this new life. Consequently, the technique blocked his memories, which will only return little by little as he regains his power. Waking up on the classroom floor, the MC opens his eyes with great conviction and accepts that, from now on, he will live as Yang Lin. Suddenly, the bully is very scared when surprised by a swift movement. Using inexplicable strength, Yang Lin lifts the rich kid by the collar, completely ignoring the boy's desperate screams demanding to be let go. Terrified, the teacher orders the MC to let go of her favorite student right away. Giving a cold stare, He reprimands her for her favoritism and claims to be very ashamed to have her as the teacher in charge. The woman even falls to the floor from so much fear, feeling a chill down her spine facing the boy's scary and different aura. Keeping his cold posture, the boy warns that he will grant her wish to let go of her prodigy. Showing no pity, he throws the snob face first against the desk with a violent impact. The educator screams, demanding that he go immediately to class 19, swearing she will get back at him for that lack of respect. Unfazed, the MC agrees to leave but proposes a final bet. He says that if he gets first place in the entire school on the next test, she will have to resign, and if he loses, he will leave the school on his own. The whole class is shocked, thinking he has lost his mind, since a student who got a 0 has absolutely no chance of reaching the top so quickly. The bruised rich kid and the teacher start laughing hard, considering the proposal the most ridiculous and arrogant thing possible. On the inside, the MC knows very well that as soon as he recovers his true strength, reaching first place will be extremely simple. Focusing on the educator, he asks in a threatening manner if she accepts the bet. Confident that the boy will fail miserably, she accepts the challenge while laughing, believing he has no ability to keep such bold promises. After sealing the impossible deal, the boy turns his back and starts walking towards the classroom exit. Putting his backpack on, he gives a clear warning for the woman to make sure she won't regret it when she is defeated. Full of anger, the teacher responds, telling him not to dare come back, crying and begging when he is destroyed. Out in the hallway, Kin Lexuan runs hurriedly, trying to catch the MC's attention so he will wait. From inside the room, Lin Xiaoguang watches the scene full of hatred, cursing his rival for using some trick to attract the pretty girl. The day passes peacefully in the school courtyard after classes end. Walking with clenched fists, Yang Lin reflects on his new life and promises that this time he will keep everything under his absolute control. The girl follows him on the path and suggests they walk home together, since they take the same route. The boy is a bit confused, trying to understand why she is acting so direct and close all of a sudden. A little further ahead, near the school, a luxurious sports car is parked at the corner of the street. Leaning against the front of the vehicle, the hate-filled rich kid talks to a dangerous-looking man. Without hesitating, he orders the driver to run over Yang Lin with the car to make sure the boy suffers the consequences. The henchman asks with some concern if the crime won't be investigated, but the snob guarantees that his father's power will cover everything up like a tragic accident. Sure that there will be no punishment, the man gets in the car and takes the wheel, ready to put the boy in a wheelchair. Totally unaware of the imminent danger, the MC takes his first steps onto the crosswalk to cross the street. The sports car's tires screech loudly on the asphalt as the driver steps on the gas hard. Walking calmly on the crosswalk, the MC doesn't even notice the critical threat approaching from behind. With that, Kun Lexuan goes into absolute panic and screams as loud as she can, warning him to watch out. Hearing the warning shout, the boy stops walking as he notices the vehicle coming at high speed in his direction. Keeping complete calm, he focuses his gaze and adopts a serious posture facing the unavoidable danger. Right after, Yang Lin exudes a gigantic aura of energy and claims that those men are nothing more than ants trying to knock down a tree. With a subtle movement of 2 fingers, he directs all this new strength straight into the ground. Inside the car, the henchman goes into total panic, not understanding what kind of bizarre energy is shining on the asphalt. A strong, swirling gale completely swallows the sports car, lifting its wheels off the ground. The whole car is lifted and kept floating in the air right in front of the boy, who remains standing still. Terrified by the situation, the driver tumbles out of the car and screams for Lin Xiaoguang to get out of the way fast. The snob stands frozen, watching the mass of metal flying towards him, and begs in terror for that thing not to come close. With a huge crash, the car rolls over and violently hits the side of the street, turning into a pile of scrap metal. Right after, Kun Lexuan runs over, very worried about the boy, but he calmly assures her he didn't get hurt. Curious about the absurd situation, she questions what really happened there, while he just guesses that the man tried to show off at the wheel, and it backfired. On the inside, the MC feels his body completely exhausted from having forced the use of such an advanced technique. The fatigue hits with such intensity that he passes out in the middle of the sidewalk, making Kin Lexuan run desperately to catch him. A few hours later, the night falls silently over the city as a peaceful vibe takes over a local hospital. An older man approaches the bed, relieved to see the boy finally wake up from his fainting spell, and asking how he feels. The MC guarantees that the discomfort has passed and takes the opportunity to ask who brought him there. The older man says that his supposed girlfriend helped and already left, highlighting that the girl cried a lot out of worry in the waiting room. Immediately, Yang Lin asks Uncle Shu not to make up stories, since they are just classmates, while the man laughs and says he already paid the medical bills. The boy knows very well that his neighbor suffered at the hands of his ex-wife, who tried to take everything from him, and even left their daughter for him to raise alone. Thinking about his own life, the MC remembers that he was abandoned right after he was born and ended up being taken in by a very loving family. However, a terrible car accident took his adoptive parents away 3 months ago, which totally ruined his school performance since then. Focusing on the present again, he realizes that his current body is very weak, and he urgently needs to increase his strength. Exactly at that moment, a nurse walks into the room calmly announcing that it's time to change the patient's bandages. Standing next to the bed holding a tray, she politely asks the young man to roll over onto his stomach to make the procedure easier. Without suspecting any danger, he agrees normally and starts adjusting on the stretcher by turning his back. Suddenly, the boy's face completely changes as he feels a very intense malicious intent coming from the woman. The nurse violently attacks with a scalpel straight at the bed, but the MC quickly rolls to the floor and narrowly dodges the cut. Surprised by his abnormal agility, she raises her weapon and notes that he is definitely not just any regular kid. Full of anger about the trap, Yanglin asks who she is and why she is trying to take him out so unfairly. Completely ignoring the questions, the attacker strikes again, claiming that a target whose time is up doesn't need to know anything. Facing the imminent danger, the boy understands that he doesn't have time for long training sessions and needs to force a physical breakthrough immediately. Using the fundamentals from his past life, he summons the energy stored in his soul in an attempt to evolve and strengthen his current body. However, he understands that doing this alone in a world with such low energy will be a very difficult task. Taking advantage of the distraction, the fake nurse jumps to attack, mocking that playing mysterious will only speed up his end. The MC crosses his arms to take the frontal impact, deciding to use the force of her attacks to push his own bodily evolution. The woman is totally shocked to see that her armed attack was blocked by the boy with his eyes closed, thinking it was pure luck. Challenging the enemy to finish the job, he tells her to attack again, receiving a high and swift kick in response. Enduring the blow without stepping back, the boy realizes that the technique is working perfectly, as the extreme pressure is making him break the energy seals of his physique. Without any pity, the attacker delivers a heavy strike that hits the side of the boy's neck. Right after, she tries another armed attack from below, but is left confused when her arm is immobilized by the boy's legs. With a solid defense, Yanglin spins his body upside down and counters with a powerful kick that knocks the enemy down, while thanking her for the helpful training assistance. With the precise impact of his leg, the fake nurse is thrown brutally against the wall of the hospital room. Wiping her bruised face from the blow, she gets furious at the boy's irony in thanking her for the strike. Andrew takes over the woman's face, who warns him with an evil and furious expression that he just crossed every line. Pulling a revolver from under her clothes, she admits that there is something bizarre about his movements, but guarantees that playtime is over now. Pointing the weapon at the boy, she states with absolute conviction that human speed will never beat the speed of a bullet. At that exact moment, the MC's eyes glow with an intense golden shade while his vision speeds up to the limit. With a discreet and precise head movement, he perfectly dodges the bullet's path at the last possible millisecond. The attacker freezes in shock immediately, motionless and unable to believe that anyone could do something so insane. Coldly evaluating the weapon through the smoke, the boy deduces she is from the underworld, but still doesn't understand why he became a target for this kind of criminal. Desperate because she can't fail and blaming bad luck, the woman unloads a continuous barrage of shots in his direction with the intention of cutting off any escape route. To escape the rain of bullets, the MC jumps backward through the hospital's glass window, shattering everything in his path toward the street. While falling into the void surrounded by shiny shards, he tries to put the pieces together to figure out what kind of threatening enemies a regular student would have. Grabbing tightly onto a building pipe to slow his fall, he finally understands that the woman's mission was to erase evidence. Sliding quickly down the iron structure until he reaches the lower floors of the building, he concludes that there is only one clear reason for this to happen right now. With a light and very well controlled jump, the boy lands perfectly on the empty sidewalk without hurting his joints. Staring at the floor above, he finally realizes that the recent tragedy that took his parents wasn't an accident, but a setup. Surrounded again by the blue energy, the boy runs down the street, acknowledging that forcing his growth left him very unstable, and he needs to recover before investigating all this dirty work. Like a true unstoppable bolt of energy, he disappears, tearing through the night at high speed, leaving only a glow in his path. Going back to the wrecked room, the attacker angrily reports on her phone that she was compromised, hearing her boss call her incompetent for failing a seemingly easy job. Looking out the broken window in frustration, She gauges the height of the 7th floor and assures her boss that the boy most likely didn't survive the fall. However, shock takes over her face as she looks at the sidewalk and realizes there is no body down there. On the morning of the next day, the worn out sign on the door shows the dreaded Class 19 of the school. The vibe inside is the pure definition of a school mess, full of troublemakers fighting, slapping each other, and flipping desks without caring about the rules. Walking calmly down the hallway outside, the MC reflects on the turbulent night, happy to have gained strength attributes that far exceed normal people. However, a sharp pain hits his head, reminding him that the scarcity of energy in this world made yesterday's rush technique dangerously unstable in his system. On the inside, he acknowledges that all this accumulated power is flowing out of control through his bones, and if he doesn't find a way to control it fast, the internal pressure will finish him off. Finally arriving at his new classroom with his backpack on, he is stopped by a very large student who warns him that the place doesn't welcome preppies. Looking closer at the newcomer's face, the boy gulps and immediately recognizes the famous former top student of the school who took a massive dive in his grades. Keeping his usual bored expression, Yang Lin agrees with the reputation and just confirms that he was recently transferred to that dump. Casually chewing on some food, the big guy changes his hostile attitude, introduces himself as Yan Hoa, and tells the new kid to feel free to pick any empty desk in the back. The MC deduces he can sit anywhere, since the teacher doesn't care about the seating chart of that forgotten class. Yan Ho walks over and explains that Class 19 is so neglected that they can even jump the back fence to skip school without anyone caring. The tall guy keeps talking, saying that the other teachers barely step foot in there, just handing out some tests so they can pretend they're studying. At that moment, a knock sounds on the door calling the new student for a quick chat outside. Going out to the hallway, Yan Hoa is completely shocked to see Chun Lexuan waiting at the classroom entrance. The other troublemakers are also stunned, unable to believe that the true goddess of the school went to the middle of nowhere just to meet him. Watching the scene with a bit of jealousy, the big guy wonders why such a popular girl is going after a transfer student. Meanwhile, in the back of the room, an intimidating student with scars stretches at his desk looking very impatient. Adopting a threatening posture, he grumbles that it's finally time to teach the lesson the rich kid ordered against the boy. Outside, the girl sighs in relief noticing her classmate is unharmed, even commenting that he seems to have gotten a little taller. Aware that this is the result of his recent physical breakthrough, the MC mentally praises her great observation skills. Being very helpful, she hands over her own notebooks, letting him know the material will be very useful so he doesn't fall behind. After offering the valuable help, the girl quietly says goodbye and runs back to her own classroom. Right after she leaves, heavy footsteps start echoing through the hallway coming directly toward the MC. The big guy full of scars stops right in front of Yang Lin, taking a totally hostile stance and ready to start a fight. The bully looks the new student up and down, confirming if he is really the famous kid everyone is talking about. Unintimidated by the guy's size, the young man stays calm and coldly asks who is standing in front of him. Yan Hua quickly pops up again, whispering that the bully is named Wang Hai and spends all his time extorting money from the class. Ignoring the introductions, the troublemaker violently grabs the MC by the collar and demands 1,000 coins by the next day. To make the message very clear, he raises his fist, threatening to cause serious physical harm if the cash doesn't end up in his hand. The MC just shoots an icy glare at his opponent, bluntly ordering him to take his hand off his clothes. Used to seeing everyone trembling with fear, the big guy goes speechless and totally in shock at the boy's audacity. Losing his patience for good, Yang Lin grips the bully's arm tightly and repeats the order not to touch him. Full of rage at the audacity, the troublemaker steps forward with a heavy punch ready to hurt the new kid right there. However, the boy's eyes shine with a dangerous energy, revealing that he is in total control of the situation. With a subtle physical movement, he dodges the attack perfectly, making the blow strike nothing but air. On the inside, he acknowledges that his current body is reacting much faster than he expected due to the forced evolution he went through. Taking advantage of the enemy's huge opening, the boy decides to test his strength and lands a swift punch straight to the big guy's chest. The power of the blow is so colossal that the hooligan is sent flying, soaring through the air while dropping curses because of the sharp pain. The bully lands heavily on the classroom floor, and the MC walks over looking satisfied, stating that he is getting used to this new physique. Walking slowly, the boy soon deduces that it makes no sense to suffer this unprovoked attack and concludes that someone else is pulling the strings. Totally humiliated and full of anger, the big guy tries to stand up, swearing heavily at his opponent. However, before he can get up, he is thrown back to the ground by a merciless strike from the MC, Seeing his own body fail, the bully can't understand how a skinny kid has such terrifying physical strength. Out of patience, the boy grabs the enemy's head, demanding to know who gave the order, while the big guy realizes how much he was deceived about his victim. Sweet and cold, the tough guy tries to lie, saying he acted on his own to steal money, knowing that ratting out the rich kid would cost him dearly. In his mind, he remembers the wicked actions of the real mastermind and the dread he feels of crossing someone so dangerous. Spotting the obvious lie, the MC warns with a deadpan face that he won't ask a third time. With a forceful move, he presses the troublemaker's face against the hard hallway floor to pin him down for good. The impact leaves the bully completely dazed, feeling the consequences of not cooperating from the start. Calmly searching the defeated guy's pockets, Yang Lin states that his silence has already made it clear who is responsible for the situation. Grabbing the big guy's phone, he turns on the screen and finds the incriminating messages that prove his theory. Reading the contact's name out loud, he finally confirms that his old acquaintance from the honors class was the one who set up the ambush. Leaving the troublemaker lying on the floor, the boy starts walking away as he hears his classmates praise his brave attitude. The whole class cheers the event with excitement, feeling a massive sense of relief watching the bully get a taste of his own medicine. The people in the class are very impressed by the new student's strength, whispering among themselves about the unbelievable scene they just witnessed. Pumped by the plot twist, the group leader suggests following the MC to watch the rest of this drama unfold up close. The curious kids quickly herd out, walking down the school hallways ready to watch the rest of the show. The focus quickly shifts to the main honors class, where the evening shift lesson is happening in a seemingly calm atmosphere. Sitting comfortably at his desk, the vindictive snob taps his fingers on the table, bouncing his leg without suspecting the trouble heading his way. Tense while glaring at his phone, he wonders why the hired goon is taking so long to reply. Suddenly, the silence of the classroom is broken by a very loud ringtone echoing across the room. Embarrassed in front of the diligent students, the rich kid stands up apologizing for the slip up and excusing it by saying he forgot to put it on silent. However, to his massive shock, he hears the MC's voice right behind him, complimenting the questionable musical taste of his ringtone choice. The wealthy kid's face turns pale instantly, immediately recognizing who is talking behind his back. Turning around terrified, he desperately asks what his rival is doing there, since he should be rotting in the bottom-tier class. Trying to regain his arrogance, the snob lets out a sarcastic laugh, assuming the boy got beat up badly and came looking for pointless revenge. Keeping up his superiority speech, he tells the MC to know his place as a loser and to disappear from there as fast as possible. Unbothered, Yang Lin claps back at the provocation sarcastically while dropping a heavy object onto his rival's desk. With a fixed stare, he asks how someone so focused on studying like him would be in direct contact with the worst thug in school. The rich kid takes a step back, showing nerves, trying to pretend he has absolutely no clue who this hooligan is. Quickly exposing the lie, the MC reaches into his inner pocket, questioning the student's conveniently selective memory. Right in the coward's face, he shows off the confiscated cell phone, proving he already knows every detail of the plot. The screen of the device glows brightly, showing that a direct call to the rich kid's personal number has just been dialed. At that moment, the loud ringtone starts echoing through the room again, coming straight from the preppy kid's pocket. Using the same formal tone from the text messages, the MC asks in a gloomy way if the situation has finally become clear. Faced with undeniable proof, the students start whispering, pressuring the boy to publicly confess his mistake if he's man enough. The whole class turns into a collective jury, demanding that he stop acting cowardly and hiding his schemes. Crushed by the shame, the snob panics, knowing he needs some immediate authority figure to bail him out of this mess. Exactly at that tense moment, the teacher storms into the classroom screaming, demanding to know the reason for all that noise during study hours. Looking at the group, the educator immediately recognizes the transfer student and raises her voice, demanding explanations about the intrusion. Jumping at the chance, the rich kid begs for immediate protection, ordering her to take swift action against the insolent student. Realizing the act is starting again, the boy quickly steps up, warning that he's going to collect the interest on the debt first and foremost. With a very fast sweeping kick, he hits his rival's supporting leg, throwing the guy completely off balance. The impact knocks the rich kid off his feet instantly, making the teacher scream as she watches his pathetic fall. Sprawled on the floor with his clothes messed up from the hit, the snob freezes in pure embarrassment in front of the entire class. Shocked by the humiliation, the educator stammers, asking what the MC is doing, already realizing that her authority just vanished right there. The whole class bursts into laughter, mocking the rich kid and cracking mean jokes about how his lack of physical skills is a letdown. Satisfied with the damage done, Yang Lin turns his back with a bored attitude and announces he will let folks enjoy the show in peace. Desperate, the teacher tries to call the boy back to explain himself, knowing she offended her favorite student and ruined her own husband's career. Blind with rage as he fixes his crooked glasses, the snob silently swears he will make his rival pay dearly for such humiliation. Later on, the sun begins to hide slowly behind the school trees, marking the end of the school day. Walking calmly through the streets, the boy thinks he urgently needs to craft a pill to manage the chaotic energy running wild in his body. Checking his phone on the way, he quickly loses his mood upon noticing that the required ingredients have an absurdly high price nowadays. With that, memories of his past life surface, where he used to mass produce precious items and handle centuries-old herbs like they were useless trash. Today, however, being just a broke student with zero resources, he complains about not even having the cash to buy the cheapest ginseng on the market. Suddenly, the boy stops walking in the middle of the street when he hears a very weird sound. Thanks to his enhanced hearing, in a dark alley nearby, a terrified little girl is cornered by a huge, bald man with a threatening demeanor. Squeezing a teddy bear, the girl cries, calling desperately for her dad while backing away in terror from the creepy guy. Annoyed by the crying, the thug pulls out a knife, complaining about the noise and revealing his full intentions to take the kid to an isolated spot. Showing no mercy, the big guy steps forward with the blade, saying he changed his mind and will just end the girl right there. Exactly at that moment, Yang Lin appears like a lightning bolt and shoves the violent criminal away from the child with a solid block. Glancing back quickly, the MC instantly recognizes the little girl as Yor, the kind neighbor's daughter who paid his hospital bill. Trying to calm the kid down, he asks what happened, and she tearfully explains that she got separated from her dad while trying to buy food. Regaining his balance after the shove, the thug yells furiously, asking where this blind punk came from trying to ruin his plans. Analyzing his enemy's durability, the boy concludes that this man's brute strength easily surpasses the limits of a normal human. Ignoring the student's chill vibe, the dangerous man charges again with the knife in hand, demanding to know if he is deaf. From the thug's crazed look, the young cultivator notices a malicious intent equal to the worst cruel enemies he defeated in his past life. With a quick leg block, he stops the giant's attack, noting that this man's power surpasses even the fake nurse from the hospital. As they trade blows in the narrow alley, the MC strongly suspects the criminal is some kind of veteran martial arts fighter. Creating some distance to assess the situation, the boy concludes that his current body is still too weak to win in a dragged-out fight. Jumping at the slightest opening, the thug leaps furiously, aiming a heavy, destructive knee strike right at the student. Backing away fast, Yang Lin dodges the brutal impact, but gets genuinely worried the little girl might get hurt if the brawl lasts too long. Aware of the enemy's skills, he remarks that the big guy has already taken out several innocent people, receiving a sarcastic smile as confirmation. Not hiding his true colors, the hitman attacks again with the blade, warning that he can't let him leave breathing after that discovery. Leaping for the fatal blow, the thug brags about having 32 hits under his belt and claims with absolute certainty that the boy will be the next. Shielding the girl shivering with fear behind him, the MC understands that dodging is impossible and decides to use his hidden power. A light breeze flows through the quiet alley, making a few dry leaves fall slowly from the street trees. Using his fingers like tweezers, Yang Lin snatches one of these leaves out of midair, ready to focus his immortal power into a definitive strike. He injects pure energy into the piece of plant and flicks it in a swift motion, hoping on the inside that his unstable body won't give in to the pressure. Instantly, the delicate leaf turns into a beam of light that cuts through space at a totally absurd speed, impossible to track. The impact tears through the wind and hits the big guy's shoulder with full force, leaving him frozen in shock from the sudden puncture. Without losing its momentum, the improvised projectile goes through the criminal's flesh and sinks straight into the concrete wall of the neighboring building. Collapsing to his knees in sharp pain, the thug drops his knife and calls the student a martial arts master, absolutely terrified. Keeping a cold and superior aura, the boy just chuckles internally at the man's ignorance regarding the real use of spiritual energy. Right at that victorious moment, the loud sound of police sirens shatters the silence of the area, quickly arriving at the scene of the mess. To dodge questions from the cops, Yang Lin delivers a precise kick to the downed thug's head, knocking the guy out once and for all. Looking indifferently at the body sprawled on the floor, he mutters that humans must deal with their own problems from now on. Holding Yor's trembling little hand very gently, he tells her sweetly that it's time to head out and find Uncle Shu in a safe spot. However, just a few steps away from the fight scene, the boy's face turns into an expression of pure fear and shock. A mouthful of blood suddenly sprays from the MC's mouth, leaving the poor little girl terrified as she watches him clutch his own chest. Yielding to extreme fatigue, he drops to his knees, realizing that the tiny amount of power he used caused his life force to enter a critical collapse. The pain is so overwhelming that his eyes gleam with agony, absolutely sure that his organs will burst if he doesn't contain the pressure fast. Gathering his strength on pure survival instinct, he gets back up walking with the girl, determined to make a healing remedy as soon as possible. The biggest problem comes to mind right after, since his total lack of cash stops him from buying proper natural herbs for the recipe. Trying not to scare the kid, he brushes off his illness, lying that he is just very hungry, and suggests they head to a convenience store together. Actually, a brilliant idea just popped into his head on how to swap the pricey ingredients using cheap items from the corner minimart. Pulling the little girl by the hand, the duo speeds up their pace through the empty streets toward the closest shop in the area. Meanwhile, back in the alley, the red and blue glow of squad cars takes over the street cornered off with police tape. A stern-looking investigator, wearing a long coat, walks calmly toward the giant thug dumped on the ground. A uniformed cop approaches his boss, helpfully asking if forensics has already managed to confirm the knocked-out man's identity. Checking the details, the detective says it's a dangerous criminal wanted nationwide, finding it surreal that someone took him down. The officer narrows his eyes, intrigued, trying to figure out what kind of absurdly strong person would be walking around that regular neighborhood. The search team quickly reports that the area is clear, but they find it weird that there's no knife or blunt weapon nearby. Out of patience for the runaround, the investigator takes the cigarette out of his mouth and tells the cop to get straight to the point about what they actually found. Pointing at the concrete wall right above, the guard reports that the perfect hole in the thug's shoulder was caused solely by a leaf stuck up there. The captain lets the cigarette slip from his hands, completely stunned, needing to confirm out loud if he actually heard the word leaf come out of the rookie's mouth. Rubbing his chin, baffled by the impossible scene, the man tries to imagine what kind of surreal entity could turn a plant into a deadly weapon. Focused on cracking this bizarre case, he orders his squad right away to check all security cameras to find whoever is responsible. Far away from all that mess, the MC drops a bag full of stuff on his home table, relieved to have handed Ewer safely back to her dad. Standing alone in his cramped kitchen, he curses his lack of cash that forces him to try pulling off true miracles with such limited resources. With no time to throw a pity party, he turns on the stove under a regular clay pot, perfectly improvised for the task. On the counter next to it are budget, friendly roots and modern substitutes for rare herbs he bought, trying to mimic the healing effects he needs. With a precise, mystical hand gesture, he uses his own soul's energy to magically lift the ingredients straight into the hot pot. The water boils intensely while he mutters with focus that the essential and hardest part of alchemy will test the limits of his abilities from now on. Unleashing a massive blue aura that fills the whole room, the boy tries to tame the stove's unstable fire, using nothing but his inner strength. However, the homemade pot cracks very fast under the gigantic pressure of the energy and blows up with a scary bang, scattering flames through the kitchen air. Covered in smoke and dust all over his face, Yang Lin realizes that controlling normal kitchenware demands a delicacy he still can't quite manage. Refusing to accept failure, he grabs another pot from the cabinet, celebrating his own cleverness for buying a large stash of plants from the minimart. Outside on the deserted street, the house windows rattle from a new explosion, followed by his stubborn shouts swearing he'll try again. Exhausted after dozens of failed attempts, the boy wipes the sweat from his face, keeping total focus on the process. Finally, the pot glows brightly and he lifts the newly crafted pill, celebrating that the job was a success. However, a sharp pain hits his head right away, reminding him that this human body has blocked pathways and the chaotic energy keeps destroying everything internally. Wasting no time, the MC tosses the improvised medicine straight into his mouth and swallows it in one go. Sitting on the kitchen floor immediately, he gets into position to absorb the pill and force his energy pathways open. A blue aura starts flowing through his body, running along the channels that are being forcibly purified. The process triggers an insane amount of pain, and the boy lets out groans of agony engulfed by intense flames, but he acknowledges that this pain proves the alchemy is working. Holding out firmly, he focuses on keeping all that energy in check without giving an inch. Soon the power overload settles down and he sighs in relief on the floor, declaring the process a complete victory. Standing up in the middle of the messy room, the boy understands the problem was only temporarily fixed, as that frail body won't handle his future power boosts. Looking at his own hands, he realizes he needs to get a lot of money fast to buy premium herbs and craft better medicine. At that moment, heavy fatigue suddenly hits, and he paces around the house yawning, remembering he spent the whole night awake testing ingredients. The exhaustion is so strong that he collapses on the living room couch and falls into a deep sleep instantly. Many hours later, the cell phone tossed on the table starts ringing nonstop, breaking the room's silence. Waking up with a jump, he answers a call from Kyun Leksuan, who angrily demands to know where the boy went since the exams are almost starting and the bet with the teacher is on. Totally panicked for forgetting the commitment, the boy throws his shirt on in a rush and runs down the apartment stairs at top speed. Reaching the bottom floor, he flies past the door where the elderly resident is chilling. The neighbor thanks him for helping the little girl last night, but the student yells in a rush that he's super late for an exam and can't chat. The polite old man offers a car ride to the school, but the boy declines, shouting from afar that he can go much faster on foot. Completely confused, the old man gets a puzzled look on his face, watching the boy disappear in a flash. Using his newly gained power, the MC cuts through the city streets like a true blue lightning bolt, almost invisible to the naked eye. Soon the scene shifts back to the dreadful Class 19, where the students are already settled waiting for the test to begin. Standing at the door, Yang Lin finds it weird that teacher Jung Hongsun herself is proctoring that exact science exam. Seizing the chance, the educator mocks his tardiness, calling the student a failed genius and asking if he is too scared to come in and get a 0 again. Keeping a straight face, the boy points out that the rules allow up to a 15-minute delay and asks if that's correct. Walking calmly to his desk, he states he'll use that time limit to review the material outside before starting. The teacher bursts out laughing, calling the move ridiculous, guaranteeing he won't learn anything in such a short time and should just go home. Ignoring the laughs, the MC opens his books, reflecting that his grades dropped because of his recent grief and that school's hostile environment. However, with the body purification complete, his mental skills upgraded to the level of perfect photographic memory, allowing him to read many pages in seconds. Annoyed seeing the boy flip through the book at an impossible speed, the educator tells him that if he even makes the school's top 10, she'll do a backflip and eat dirt. Slamming the book shut, the boy announces that his ultra-fast reading is already fully done. Walking into the room with a firm step, he passes the teacher hoping she doesn't forget the aggressive words she just spouted. Exactly 15 minutes later, the student's hand glides quickly across the page, solving all the complex questions with absolute accuracy. Wasting no time, he turns in the test and announces he's all done, making the proctor complain that he must have handed it in blank out of pure embarrassment. Completely sure of her own conclusion, the teacher crosses her arms and whispers that the boy is just faking confidence to try and come out on top. On the next subject's exam, it takes the MC another 15 minutes to finish the test and walk out of the room casually. The exact same thing repeats on the English exam, handing the pages to the proctor before normal time even gets going. Keeping up the fast pace, another exam is finished in the record time of 15 minutes, and he walks toward the building's exit. Down the school hallways, the other students start whispering in shock at that bizarre speed, deducing that he is definitely turning everything in blank on purpose. Walking down the stairs calmly, the boy says excuse me to pass by a group of men in suits blocking the way. The group's leader, wearing a long coat, confirms Yang Lin's name, catching the student completely off guard with the approach. The gossiping kids in the hallway panic upon realizing they are real cops roaming the school and quickly conclude the transfer student got into massive trouble. Staring at the boy with a deep, analytical look, the investigator steps closer while the crowd waits in silence to see the insolent student get totally busted by the authorities.